gentlemen, we head right into our next conversation. This is about demand-driven education for a diverse workplace. Of course, as we look towards the future, it's really important to continue having the advantage. One of the questions in this session was how, our labor, our human capital is basically Pakistan's biggest asset. Indeed, we are the fifth largest, population-wise, the fifth largest country, and this is a very youthful population that we have. More than 70% of our population is under the age of 30 years, and it's a huge dividend. While the rest of the world is grappling with an aging population, with a declining population, how best can we make use of our human capital? Of course, their training, their skill development is going to be critical, and that brings our focus to academia. Whenever we have a certain focus on a certain industry, are we preparing our young people to take on the roles and the jobs and the responsibilities that that would create? With us, of course, may I request a gentleman to take a seat, because you'll be seated right there. Our next session is also going to be moderated by the Head of Public Sector, ACCA, Sajjeed Aslam. We have entrusted Sajjeed with two of the most powerful sessions in this conversation at the Future Summit, and he has very kindly agreed to do that. Thank you very much for that, Sajjeed. And of course, in this panel, one of the foremost business schools of Pakistan, who now offer a diverse range of qualifications and studies, absolutely an alma mater to some of the best minds. And now, since the institute has been around for many years, you see the graduates very swiftly climbing up the ladder. But of course, the onus still remains. How do you actually continue building this bridge and preparing the future generations? Ladies and gentlemen, also joining in this session, may I invite our next speaker, Mr. Asad Shah, who's a member of the policy group at the SECP as well. Thank you, Asad Saab. A very keen eye on the developments in the economy and the policy affairs. He usually is the first one to respond to any of my segments where I have been brutal and bold with my questioning. So thank you so much, Asad Saab. Really expecting the same from you in the panel as well. Sajjeed, I'll leave it up to you. Our panelists are, of course, prepared to give an address, but if you'd like it to be an interactive conversation, that's up to you. So over to you.
Thank you, Sitra. Thank you. So thank you very much for joining today as well, Talib Saab and Asad Saab. I think we will try to keep it more interactive. We have got 20-25 minutes to take it forward. We might be able to take 2 questions, so be very prepared and for the question, not the comment, but prepare for the question as well. So just opening up the forum, I think whenever we talk about the demand-driven education and we talk about the diverse workforce, so the first question comes is how we are going to determine demand in such an uncertain world, and which is such a connected one. That's the first thing. And number 2, demand for what? For the country, for the region, or we are looking at the global one? So I think these are the questions which I'll start with you, Talib Saab, and I'll come to you, Asad Saab, as well.
Thank you, Sajjeed. I think I'm grateful to Asfar for inviting me, and I think this is the 5th year of this summit, and I think 5th year of our partnership with Nutshell. So we are always very pleased to be part of this forum. I think if we look at what the future holds for the workforce and how educational institutions can meet those challenges, I think we need to just go back to 2020 when COVID came upon us in March of 2020, and we were asked to shut down our campuses. So what we were looking at the future as our strategy to be more online, to be more virtual, maybe 5 years down the road, it came upon us in 2020, and all of us were basically asked to be virtual. And the challenge was taken in good stride, and I think our faculty members and students especially were able to meet those challenges, and we conducted for almost a year and a half classes virtually and online. Now the reason I'm saying that is that disruption can come anytime, and future, what will happen in next 10 years or 15 years is very difficult to predict. But there are trends where we can see what future holds for all of us. And I think the most important trend is, of course, technology, and that how we can adapt to technology and also make sure that we are well equipped, our students, once they go out in the market, are well equipped in terms of technology, and those who are working in the organization are also ready to go back and relearn what they have learned initially in schools and universities. Future, we can talk about that, but technology is one of the tools that we have to adapt.
Thank you, Talib Sahab. I think we will come back again. So the technology and the reskilling of the current workforce towards technology is a one theme. So Asad Sahab, how we are going to determine the demand, and it should be regional, country level, and we just discussed in a CPAC, they are talking about if they want to create a special economic zone, they want to create a colony, and they want to create a talent for that specific industry within Pakistan. Yeah. So Talib Sahab also mentioned the demand, so who should be determining that demand and guiding the country as well?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Sajjeed, and thank you for inviting me in this session. I think I just came here as a participant, but I understand Aisha Aziz, who was supposed to be here, was not able to make it. So, education is something that I've been working on, and so I am delighted to be part of this panel. And I must congratulate the topic that you have included, the demand-driven education. Now, I think we need to understand what is demand-driven education. Simple, education which has high demand. That to me is a common sense answer. And that is, in fact, one of the biggest problems in this country. First of all, I think our biggest problem is that very large number of our children do not go to school. Almost 40% of the population, not going to children not going to school. Literacy rate is very low. So our basic education has huge problems. Second aspect is that most of the educational institutions that we have, in the form of public sector universities especially, the quality of education, and also I think from the demand perspective, they are not creating the labor force that is required of this world, in this world. You see, we have to understand that today we are sitting in a world where 5 billion people are connected. It's a connected world. When we were trained in, boomers as you call it, people who were trained in 80s or 70s, obviously it was a different world, So our education system still is largely manual based. It is still 18th, 19th century system. So neither our system is catering to the demand, nor the topics that we are discussing and the manner that we are educating is actually catering to the demand. So it's not very difficult to understand what is the demand. Demand is, and actually when we are talking about demand, obviously in earlier session, Khalid Mansoor talked about the possibility of, setting up chip manufacturing, and, so that is one area where demand is. But the point is, it's not just what is the manufacturing and industry in Pakistan. Today, the opportunity is that if you create the right skills which have demand, our people can be employed, they can serve not just the Pakistani manufacturing sector or the business or commerce, they can actually service the entire world. They can serve, people in the US, the large companies. They can serve Chinese, they can serve, engineering, technology, all sectors, sitting here. And that is what the COVID has done. I mean, the virtual kind of service delivery has remote work, and it's now hybrid and virtual world. So I think what is required, and who has to do it? And this is where the policy making comes in. Unfortunately, our policy making, as far as education is concerned, remains, I have to say, dysfunctional. The HECs of this world and the education departments, they are in a different world. They are not in 21st century. They are not recognizing the opportunity which is available today if we just, but then it requires a huge shift. We need to totally reinvent our universities. We need to, I think, move towards skill-based education. We all know that despite Pakistan, we have so many problems, the balance of payments problems, etc., and our exports have not been rising. Now, the biggest item that where there is, which is the foreign exchange earner also, where the highest increase is the service, IT sector, 40-50% increase. And the opportunity there is really, I also say that we are living in an exponential world. Our people still are, unfortunately, we still thinking in terms of 10% growth, 12% growth. Whereas these, technology firms and these startup companies, they think in terms of how many times growth, So if we actually get into the right policy and get into these 21st century skills, I think our growth in terms of developing the human resource and in terms of getting the export of services could be exponential. It could be 500%.
So thank you very much. I think where we are alluding towards, it's a non-linear thought process, number one. The policymaker, like we have seen a model in US, very interesting one, where they integrate their planning of the economic plans and then they work it backward for the next 30, 40 years and what kind of skills or competencies they are required. But I think the most important thing which you picked up is the non-linear thought process, that we should not stick with that linear 10%, 5% growth or a linear progression class 10वीं की और फिर 12वीं की और फिर 14वीं की और फिर masters कर लिया. I think we have to bring those kind of structures where people can, after matric or A level or O level, they can really go for the competencies and skill and start working within Pakistan rather than going for the linear progression the way we used to do that. So Talib साहब आपसे एक सवाल दोबारा उसी साइड पे आते हैं जो अभी हमने बात की. Policy maker is a one part and Education Institute is another one because they have got their own research which guide the policymaker that what to do. So if we are looking at the Education Institute or the universities like yourself, how your university is determining that demand and doing that R&D and converting that into the program which can help the young generation, upcoming generation one, and the other question you raised that the reskilling the existing workforce to stay relevant. So how you deploy that process?
I think as I've said initially that the whole world, whether we look at globally or we look at locally, is now a technology-driven world. And as a university, we need to bring within our curriculum or within our degree programs those type of specialization which can help these youngsters to adjust themselves, whether they're in Pakistan or globally. Now, if you look at just the IT industry itself, and if you look at the neighboring country where they're exporting about 150 billion worth of software, as compared to that, we are at 2 billion. And we are sitting at the biggest resource that one can ask for, and that is the youth population. I think over 40% of our population comprises of youth, but unfortunately, as Asad Saab said, that almost 24 million of school-going children who should be going to school are not in school. So we are basically missing out in that resource that we need to take advantage of. One other point is that we always talk about tertiary level education. I think one point that policymakers need to think upon is more of skilled labor, which Khalid Mansoor Saab also mentioned, that their requirement for CPAC is about 100,000 skilled workers in the next few years. Are we policymakers or us, are we spending enough resource in vocational training and skill type training? Yes, there are some programs by this current government and by the previous government in order to enhance that, but I think we need to do more in terms of doing that. Unfortunately, if there are parents sitting here who have university, about to go to the university, I think we tend to, and this is not just in Pakistan, it's a very global type of phenomena, that we tend to look at the current scenario and we ask our kids to go for BBA or for these type of programs, which maybe there's a requirement in the current market. We are not looking at the future, that what will happen after 5 years or what will happen after 10 years. For example, we offered, or we are offering 2 programs. One is in data sciences, a bachelor's program, and one is in technology management. But compared to those BBA and other popular programs, these programs are not attracting as many candidates as they should. Because by the time candidates graduate, the whole world will be a different world. It will be a technology-based world. We are fortunate with one other thing, is that with Generation Z, Gen Z, and with millennials, I think they are equipped in terms of technology. I mean, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who, can take the phone, an iPhone or a smartphone, and switch on to Netflix and watch a cartoon. Right now, she's attending her school online by sitting in front of the laptop. So we have these type of kids who are in the workforce now because they are in their 20s and they are part of our universities also. So I think we need to adapt to their needs and try to equip them in terms of those type of thinking which can make them more adjustable to the scenario in Pakistan and globally. We cannot really, this is a global village, and we cannot really prepare them just for Pakistan. We need to prepare them for the...
Thank you, Talib Sahab. And Aisha Aziz also contributing through the technology, and she made one comment, interesting one. In such a situation, we best, like in our current situation, the best we can do is to have an education that contributes to the development of our cognitive ability in a holistic sense. This will equip us to deal with both what changes and what stay the same, what is fleeting and what is the part of the deep pattern. With the issue of diversity too, that's also something which we can start working towards the human development and not only the education skill and training, because the skill may be obsolete, but that cognitive ability which should be developed at a very early stage schooling, that will stay there and that will help people to really work in all situations and to deal with all the uncertainty. I think given the time, we would like to take 2 questions from the audience as well. If anybody has got a question, please. Okay, what's up? So मैं आपको 1 minute end में दे रहा हूँ, just for the closing. 1 minute for you, 1 minute. Question, Ji. Sir, state your name and organization.
Thank you very much. I think it's too late now, but nevertheless, my name is Aftab Bhatt, and I work for Kota Power Company. Thank you very much. I think it's an extremely important topic that you guys are discussing, and I know Shah Saab and gentlemen are working very hard on it. The new word, I think the buzzword is this skill-based, and we were talking about future and working back. The hard luck, unfortunate part is that we are not embracing the future, and we are keeping our eyes closed that, the degree base, even now, like it's been stated that, we are still going for education per way, the degree. No, the future is not. Even we were talking in our CA, ICAP, that this qualification is going to get redundant in some time future. So maybe you're right, and I think have you taken the right step. So what tangible step that government should take? I mean, we have heard about SNC, and we have heard about the criticism on it. There are good part to it, and there are debatable or improvement part to it. Can you both gentlemen talk about how it can actually really improve the skill set or the educational level and diversity as well in Pakistan?
If I may. Thank you, Aftab. I think it's a very, very critical question, and I think the first thing, let me give you an example what I want to say. अभी आपने पहले फ्यूचर की बात की ना कि वी आर नॉट, आपने भी ये बात की कि हम अभी पास्ट में ही रह रहे हैं एंड वी आर नॉट इवन इमेजिनिंग व्हाट इज फ्यूचर. इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी दैट व्हेन Israel's first prime minister, and I give this example, Israel is also like, I know a lot of people may have apprehensions, but Israel and Pakistan have some very great similarities. Both countries created on the basis of religion. Both countries around the same time. We were created in 47, 48. Both are surrounded by huge enemies, right? Both are military nations. Yet Israel is the best example of entrepreneurship. $45,000 per capita income, हम $1,500 पे हैं. So obviously we have to learn. कहते हैं ना कि दुश्मनों से भी सीखना चाहिए. तो first prime minister जो उनके थे, when he was forming a cabinet, so he was looking for people, and then experts of different fields, and he got a list कि जी एग्रीकल्चर का फलाना एक्सपर्ट है, फलाना साइंस का है, इस चीज़ का डिफरेंट एक्सपर्ट्स उनको लिस्ट भेजी गई. तो he said, look, the list that you have given me, these are the experts of the past. I'm looking for experts of the future. So प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इस मुल्क में हमने सारे जो पास्ट के, हम मेरे जैसे more than 60-year-old जो है ना, हम we are totally relying on the old thinking, people who have done well. Okay, they may have done well, but most of us, including myself, I think we are not really current with what is happening in the world. अब ये देखें दुनिया में ये जो दुनिया change की है, these are all young people who did this. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, ये अपनी 20s age में, 25 age में जो है ना, they did amazing, outstanding things. दुनिया की इतनी बड़ी कंपनियां बना दी हैं. They were not, experts in anything. So they were just challenging these existing norms. They were bold. They were questioning things. असल प्रॉब्लम हमारे माशरे का ये है कि we are a compliant culture. In our culture, the person, the chief executive is everything in an organization. Family में सबसे बड़ा जो senior है, he or she is everything. Army chief जो है हमारी आर्मी में, वो वहाँ से पावर फ्लो करता है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर गवर्नमेंट से उनका फ्लो करता है. मतलब ब्यूरोक्रेसी में जो यंग लोग हैं ना, उनको हम फोकस नहीं करते, उनको हम इनकरेज नहीं करते. यहाँ पर हमारे स्कूलों में क्वेश्चंस, सवाल पूछने वालों को जो है ना, हम इनकरेज नहीं करते, उनको बल्कि डांटते हैं. तो सवाल ये है, अगर हमने अपने माशरे को चेंज करना है, वी हैव टू चेंज, जो आप कॉग्निशन की बात कर रहे थे, we have to encourage more questions. We have to encourage more debate, and we have to encourage rebellion, really, not compliance. So I think one of the worst things that has happened in our culture is this compliance culture. So we have to bring new people, who have out-of-box thinking and not experts of the past.
Thank you, Asad. And coming from you as a policy board member of SECP and a professional accountant, promoting non-compliance it's definitely something we would appreciate, but that's what.
I'm not talking about non-compliance of the law.
Yeah.
I'm talking about non-compliance of our,
The comfort zones and all that. Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that's what Aisha also mentioned the cognitive abilities. We are talking about the non-linear paths as well. And I think that's the non-linear thought process which will really break those hierarchies and let the young people really promote and project what they think and challenge that one rather than complying with the existing comfort zones of people. So tangible contribution from your, okay.
You know what it means when I'm
Yeah, you are the, no, thank you, then we can thank and, so thank you very much. I think we were running quite short on the time side, so we will continue the conversation during the lunchtime, I hope. People are still here, we are here. So I think this is an important topic, and we would like that the online content which exists out there, please do engage with that content and leave your comments and the question there, so we hope that we can build some conversation engagement there.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Sajjeed.
much for that, Sajjeed. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our very able panel. And before we close this one, may I once again request Air Chief Marshal Suhail Aman Sahab to please join us up on stage. And Rabia, if you are in, yes, there you are. Rabia Ahmed also from the Nutshell Group to please join us up on stage, as we'd like to present this able panel with a token of our appreciation that will go with them. And to do this honor, may I request Dr. Shahid Mahmood, the Chairman and the CEO of Interactive Group, to please join us up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the first book is to be presented to the President of the IUBM. May I request Mr. Talib S. Karim to accept this. Dr. Shahid Mahmood, the Chairman and CEO of Interactive Group, is presenting this one. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, may I request Mr. Asad Ali Shah to please step forward and accept this. It's a small token of our appreciation for his valuable input and time. Last but definitely not the least, may I request our moderator, Sajjeed Aslam, the Head of Public Sector, ACCA, to please step forward. Thank you, gentlemen. May I request you all to come together for a group photograph. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been our endeavor in the last 2 days to try and imagine what the unimaginable is. And definitely that will be the perfect tone to sort of bring this 2-day Future Summit, the 5th edition of the Future Summit, to a closing. Our theme for our closing ceremony is to imagine the unimaginable. And whenever we say the unimaginable, it doesn't necessarily have to be tinged with negativity. All great things, all dreams that manifest were first dreamt of in our minds.